I think that sometimes people don't realize that you do get something when you walk in, and I'm going to say the comic book shop. You walk into your local comic book shop and you have that conversation with the person who's there.
And it may not even be about comics.
Or another person that's just there to pick something up. You're having that connectivity. We as humans need it. We thrive on it.
Yeah.
And even if you're having that day where you're like, oh God, please just don't look at me, don't talk to me, whatever it is, the next day you're going to need somebody to look at you and talk to you. And it's, I think people realize they do need that.
Hi, my name is Adam Freeman. I work for Prana Direct Market Solutions, and this is Comic Industry Insiders, our weekly podcast where we get to know the people behind the scenes of the comic book industry, get to know their stories, and try and glean out the tips and tricks that will make your career or business that much stronger. This week, our guests are David and Candice Craig, the owners of Blackbird Comics and Coffee in Maitland, Florida. I've been watching David and Candice from afar for years and was very excited to get to know them, and they did deliver. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about the passion and dedication of running a comic shop that's also a coffee shop. We talked about raising a family in that kind of environment. We talked about the importance of hiring the right staff and how the culture of inclusion and family in those communities will help support you in the rough times. They're wonderful people. I do hope you enjoy getting to know them as much as I did. Friends and neighbors, David and Candice Craig. City are you guys in? Maitland, Florida. Excellent. Mm-hmm. How long has the store been open?
We're about to hit 6 years.
6 years. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So you had a couple years pre-COVID.
Yep.
Yes.
Just before the whole world went to shit, and you had to throw out everything that you knew, and and you had this lovely recording closet, which I have to commend you on. Yeah.
It's a sound booth.
It is. It truly is. Excellent. So I was hoping today to just kind of get to know you two as people and to get to know how you came to comics, how you came to put together such a unique store, and to kind of get a feeling for where you think the future of your store lies and where kind of the future of our industry is going. So why don't you go? I mean, to start, I mean, every couple I know has well-rehearsed story about how they met and how they got to where they are today. So tell me, you two, how did you two find each other?
It was all because of where she happened to have some go-nowhere job at the moment.
It's so true.
It was on the way to band practice because I play drums in rock bands, and it was on the way there. I needed Gatorades because we don't drink booze when we're at practice because you're trying to be serious.
Right.
So you stop, and I was like, oh, this Rite Aid's drugstore is right on the way. And so I saw this girl with this incredibly long red hair who looked like Kim Basinger but with red hair. And I was like, wow, it's because Batman had already come out. So I knew who Kim Basinger was.
Right.
So that's how I found her.
Can I buy you some Gatorade? Is that your opening line?
Yeah. I don't know what it looked like for a guy to come in with a black mohawk and be buying Gatorade, but
yes. But that was and the thing is the drugstore sold comic books.
Yes.
And so we kind of met over Spawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
really?
Yeah.
Spawn had not been out but about 3 months. So number one technically was still on the shelf at this place. And I had walked away from comics for about 3 years because I thought they were the reason I wasn't meeting girls. And so what I found out after 3 years was that was not the reason I was not meeting girls. It was my ugly black mohawk.
But you were convinced, man, that mohawk was a chick magnet, and
yeah, it works for Trent Reznor. Why doesn't it work for me?
Yeah.
So I was looking at them, and she's like, "Oh, do you like comic books?" And at first, I was like, "No, I don't like comic books." She's like, "Oh, well, I really like this." I was like, I like comic books.
Did I mention how much I like comic books?
So
Amazing.
that was me it was because I actually got back into comics. I was like, oh, it's okay to go get that stuff out of my army trunk and get this stuff back out again. So.
And he truly did have an army trunk full of comic books. So,
yeah.
So and then you know.
Did you have an army trunk as well at home, full of comics, or was it?
No, I read them, but I didn't collect them.
Gotcha.
I was just really more of a reader.
I had
and,
to civilize her in that
yeah,
way.
yeah, bad behaviors.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then we lived in sin for a couple years, and then we got married, and went on about having careers and everything,
raising family and stuff. So that's the meeting right there.
Sure. And so you stayed in music. When did you make the transition out of Mohawk and music into comics and family?
It was we were Gen X, so we went to college late. So we used our 20s to party and be free.
As someone who never made it to college, for that same reason, I just woke up one day and had a job. I'm like, well, I guess I might as well do this for the rest of my life.
But we did career jobs for close to 20 years.
I was a school teacher, and and the comic book teacher, actually. So I had a comic book classroom, and I used them to create voracious readers.
I bet you did.
And
I bet you did. What age range was that?
Predominantly 5th grade, but I've also taught 6th grade.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I was more of a jack of all trades. I was because I was trying to be a musician. You never give up on that dream until you give up on that dream.
Right.
And I still don't give up on it. But so I worked this job and that job. Finally, I went back to school and I got into finance and economics and stuff like that. So.
Oh wow. All right. When you were talking about jack of all trades, I didn't expect that to go into the.
If I told you the arc, gardener at Disney World, construction, and then school, and then actually career.
And also though, but when you were a teenager, you picked tobacco.
Yeah, I've done it all, man.
Yeah.
From picking tobacco to.
You know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. From picking tobacco to renting P&Ls.
This person is not afraid of hard work.
Yeah, I can tell that.
I'm afraid of it now.
Listen, man, as an aging Gen Xer myself, who has learned many varying skills in order to keep working, I totally feel what you are. You're not afraid to learn anything. You're not afraid to do anything or fail.
Yeah.
You're just afraid to not have something to do.
That's
right. That's really it. That's
We don't think more than 5 years ahead. That's Gen X.
5-year plan. What is wrong with you?
That's a long time.
When you said you have a 5-year plan, I go, I don't have a 2-year plan.
5 months, 5 months, and it's working. So,
So the career jobs were super stressful. Right?
Oh yeah, especially David's. It was our daughters and I were like, oh my God, he's gonna drop dead.
Sure.
The stress was so bad, and
she can tell you what I used to say through our entire marriage.
So the whole time before
dating
marriage,
even,
dating, 30 years, every time we drive by an empty building, David would go, oh, that'd be a great comic book shop, and it was constant. So, and this particular place we're in right now had been empty for like over 10 years. And he was constantly mentioning it. It was always available. Right. And so the stress levels, both of our jobs, but really predominantly David's, got so out of hand. Finally, we're just like, why don't you just open the comic book shop?
Fuck it.
And then we both, the whole family loves comic books. I'm a coffee fanatic. So I've been drinking it since I was 12. And I was like, and we'll do coffee too, which was the 2-year plan. We actually did plan to start that 2 years in. It ended up being 6 months in. But
when you're trying to make month, you will rush things into your business plan rather quickly.
We cashed out our retirement money. Yeah. And we didn't take a loan or anything.
So we don't owe anybody anything.
Nobody gave us anything on this. We really rolled the dice. It was terrifying. Yeah. It was terrifying.
So, Adam, what you see when you come here is my 401k.
Believe me. I feel that as well. Do you? But I want to go back to. You're in a location that was vacant for 10 years? Is that right?
Probably over 10 years. It was an old melting pot.
Yeah. It was a
restaurant.
The fondue restaurant, melting pot.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
So
right. So it was already built in for like the kitchen and such, so you could. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, because that's stupid expensive to try and
it was still stupid expensive.
Because when we walked in,
they didn't leave their stuff.
Yeah, it's
they
10
just
years
let the
closed,
pipes.
and it's 10 years closed, and it's still set up to be a melting pot. I could have made more money if I just opened a fondue place.
I'm sure. I'm sure. How much fun would that be?
No, not fun at all.
That's true. No. That's true. The melting of cheese. That's gonna get old fast, right?
Yes.
I think melted cheese.
Yeah.
I think it's good for 7 shifts before you go ahead and do something.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I like that. It's the idea of how long before I get bored with this as the deciding factor. Well, that's so you decided coffee early. You knew it was on the plan, but you rushed it up. Was it because you were having trouble with revenue? How's that?
No. It just things were going better than expected
In 2019. In
2019.
In 2018, when we opened, we were actually open 6 months that year. So that was pretty much, holy shit, let me get a grasp on how this works. You know, I've always been a comic fan. I don't know the comic ins and outs of ordering and all of that. So the first 6 months was like, holy hell, what are we doing? So by January of 2019 is when she said, I think we probably need to go ahead and add.
We're ready. Let's just start.
Let's
just start it out, and then it's it's grown with us. So the whole shop is kind of like, once that came together, it would the organism was moving along really nicely.
What you don't think about though, Adam, is that when she says, let's just do the coffee part, we're ready. I go, okay. Espresso machine, $9,000. Oh, okay. All right, this is what we're doing.
By the way, that's a slightly pre-loved espresso machine.
Yeah.
So
wow.
I didn't realize that you can spend $20,000 on an espresso machine easily.
They can't. Others.
Yeah, others can.
Others can.
He did not.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of equipment that, like I said, I've been drinking coffee since I was 12 years old, and I'd probably be 6 foot tall had I not done that. But I truly love it. It represents comfort to me, and so I knew how to make a cup of coffee and drink it and enjoy it, in my house. But making it for the public, it's a whole lot of equipment, a whole lot of training. It's a very different set of skills.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh you get pierogies, and in Tampa, where the Cuban population is large, you get dark roast coffee.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, so neither one of you really was experienced in ordering and selling comics or in making coffee before you jumped into this with both feet.
Not making coffee for more than 3 people.
Well, making coffee. I mean, I understood espresso, and we used a French press at home and things like that. But you mean running a coffee business? No. So
what was that learning? Like, are you just like, are you just going for it and like making mistakes and, trying not to make the same one twice? Are you doing any specific training? Like, how do you guys decide?
We, one thing is, I think coming from an educator background, I look things a little differently. So I did prepare myself. So, while the machine was even being installed, I was already, aware of what was going on
and training with the coffee vendor.
I really did take it very seriously. I think that it had I not been so passionate about it, it would have failed. I do believe that. I think that you have to genuinely have a passion for each of the things that you're doing, or the outcome is not going to be good.
Well,
absolutely.
On the comic side, I will say this, and you'll never hear me say it again, because pre-COVID, Diamond Software, the thing known as Comic Suite, was actually an incredible piece of software. Very intuitive, but post DC leaving,
I had a lot of years with Comic Suite. I'm sorry, man. I had to learn SQL to get it to do what I wanted it to do. I mean, I want to. Yes. Oh, yeah. Really. Yeah. But no, I can't. I can't. Listen. There's a reason that there are other people trying to create, and we're trying to create other solutions before COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. It does. Like I know some people over there that are doing amazing work, and they do try very hard to make it as good as possible. But it's quirky. It's got personality.
It's a nice way of putting it. Yeah.
Well, quirky. I'm going to say that it's a piece of garbage now, and that's no lie. It is.
But you also have to take into.
But the sad thing is that the team that's over there, Cameron and Adam and those guys that are over there, they have a challenge ahead of them, and the problem is, I don't know the reasons, Adam, but when DC left, the choice was made to just try and yank one Jenga piece out of a Jenga tower.
Yeah.
Which is what computer programming is.
Yeah.
And it ruined that piece of software to this day.
Oh, goodness.
So it was a great baby spoon for me for 2018, 2019.
Sure.
Right. But also because everything came from them. So it was pretty easy to know what was going on.
Yeah.
If I had started a store after 2020, oh my God, I don't want to know what that would have been like.
Yeah. Well, I think it's I will tell you, just having spoken to a lot of comic shops, part of my work has always been talking to comic shops, and I can tell you, for instance, I had an interview last night with partners who have opened a shop. Now they worked in a shop previous, but they've opened a shop from scratch in the last 6 months.
Right.
Oh wow!
Right.
Yeah.
And for them, this is normal. What is happening right now is normal.
Yeah. That's true.
Right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
What you're raised in is what you're used to.
Exactly. So if you're only ever, you've only ever had one source of product and one source of information and one source of customer service and all of those things, I mean, you're going to spend half your time complaining about them, but the minute it changes, you're going to complain even more. It's I can't. It is an interesting to see sort of the dynamics of people when they opened and how they look at the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
And how that does. And man, we're so many different rabbit holes we can go down in talking about this. But so where are you now?
Now
you've got. Did you throw out Comic Suite? Are you working on something else or what?
If I could throw it out, I would. And I don't mean to slight the diamond. I don't want to make this about that, but it is just more of a hindrance now than a help.
Okay.
And where I'm at right now is I've talked with both Django and Brian Garside, the two guys that are working on the Data Bro, the Comet Standard. They're part of the tech team, and it's about Brian has a great product that's ready to roll.
It is,
but on the flip side, Django's product is built by a comic store owner. So I really want Django's product, but I need a change now because I'm still just spending...
I need them to join.
I know. I'm just spending too much... I'm spending too much time with what I have. Obviously, this is leading to I still use RMH and Comic Suite.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
For the time being.
Yeah, for the time being. And here's the thing. I have got enough Band-Aids on it that it's... not unlike some sort of contraption that the Three Stooges built.
Tourniquet. Yeah, it's more like a tourniquet.
So it works. It works. It's headache. It's loads of hours of work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We are done converting our website. Our developer has built it up. It's in the background, ready to add the Managed Comics app.
Yeah.
This is now we're just at that behemoth of moving the database. So.
Sure. So, all right. So you're likely going to go Managed Comics, which I think is interesting considering it uses Shopify as a spine.
I know. Yeah.
And doesn't that mean that you get the opportunity to also put the coffee business in the same system?
No.
I mean, wouldn't there be another Shopify layer that would be able to land on top of that as well?
Well, the problem is that we're so in bed with Clover on that side. And,
Gotcha.
And they've been the thing we've used since right after COVID. And they're outrageously priced. They're hard to deal with.
The data is fabulous.
You have to go and get them to drop their charges every 6 months. It's just a 6-month meeting. And then, but at this point, it's like, it's less of a headache just to stay there and do those 6-month battles. than
Right.
to get a new POS for the site, because Clover, everything's proprietary.
Sure.
So I
It's a lot
can't
of
just move it.
equipment,
Yeah, I
yeah.
just can't move it over to Shopify. So right now we're still going to run 2 POSs, even if we move over to that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So
I
is
know.
it? Do you look at it as 2 separate businesses? Is it the same? I've not been in your space, so I don't know how it integrates. But
It's Blackbird is one. I always say organism. Blackbird is one entity, but it's interesting because there is some crossover, but we get a coffee lover crowd in here who are very
Sure.
serious about what they're drinking. They are very serious about what they're drinking. And
And that's a whole side I didn't know would happen.
so, it's just, it's not separate, but there are aspects of it that are different.
It's satisfying a completely different list of needs than the list of needs of the comic buyer or the collector or any of that. Whereas, and it's weird because I think, and this is going to sound crazy to a comic guy, is that, can we put that outside? Sorry about that.
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
I got it. I turned it
The
off.
comic buyer, and it's going to sound crazy to you. I know you're going to gasp, but the comic buyer actually is easier to understand a mistake or something than a coffee connoisseur.
We have such
Really?
such great people that come here, though. I mean,
But they do when something's off. You go,
I've seen that in action. Like I do visit a lot of indie coffee houses. I like to support independent coffee houses. I do not care for the chains. We have one moving in about 30 yards from us. But I have seen it in action when somebody is unhappy and doesn't realize that if that's the worst thing that's the worst.
If it's the worst thing that happens in your day, you're
didn't get
doing
enough
pretty
cream
good.
in your coffee. Okay, so if that's the worst thing that happened to you today, you're having a great freaking day.
Yes.
We are fortunate at Blackbird because I've said this before. It's like somebody walks in and some like ultraviolet light or something hits them and wipes bullshit out of
that's true.
off of the agenda. And they walk in and they're like, the bird on the finger and singing a little song and they're ready to be positive and respectful and open. So fortunately we're not dealing with that. We don't have that problem. And I do think that our staff is just insanely good. So people just want to be amazing back to them.
That's excellent. How do you? So when you, what do you think about? I mean, because that is, comic shop is a staff. It is a service job, right? Running it, and it's a performance art, right? In many ways. So much of what's going to the comic shop is just in the more of an experience than it is about stuff and and shopping. So how do you are you able to hire for both? Are people very specific in your hiring? Like, what does your staff look like?
It really depends.
The proof's in the pudding. We only have one cross-trained employee. The only other people that are cross-trained are our daughters, and that's because they're
heirs to the throne.
They're the family business. So, but there really is only one person that's completely cross-trained that can do both sides of the job at 100%. Yeah, it is a very distinct role to the two sides.
And that person is my right arm. That's Carly. Yeah, so Carly. She's like, if we weren't here, she is very ready to run everything. Yeah. And
even over your daughters.
Until one of my children take her out, and then they usurp the.
I only ask that question because they're going to be the first two to listen to this.
Yeah,
there's going to be there's going to be a succession sort of fight.
Exactly.
The kids versus the staff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, but they do love that show, so we need to keep an eye on that.
Yeah,
maybe they're prepping.
But okay,
Blackbird.
Yeah, we have that.
Okay,
how can I help you?
So they the staff is so I guess. What I would say is that the great thing about our staff is that we have such low turnover.
Yeah.
So we have we interview people a few times. We talk to them. We do you need certain skills, they'd be nice, but if you don't have them, but you've got a lot of with itness, a lot of gumption, those type of things, anybody can be trained.
If I was giving advice to you didn't ask this, but if I was telling somebody in a comic store, like, hey, how do you hire good people? I go, first off, you have to make sure that you like more about them than the fact that they're willing to take your hourly pay and the hours that you want to give out. Like if they mess up the vibe of your shop, that is 100% a reason to not hire.
Right.
Like, and you can definitely pick that up. Sometimes in the interview, everybody I know puts in their best foot forward in an interview. But, in the first couple of weeks, you need to really be on top of watching that person interact, mostly with your regs, right? So the good thing of the crossover or the Venn diagram of coffee and comics really is in that the customers, the interaction with the customer, right? They both require attention and some conversation, and it's about the experience over the product, like you mentioned. So if you watch them for the first couple of weeks and they're not good at it, that might be something that's not trainable. I'll be honest with you. Like personality, I don't know if personality is trainable, right? But to not come off as fake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Because the second someone seems disingenuous.
It's just we've gotten rid of about 8 disingenuous people.
It's just nobody wants to. I love that Spider-Man shirt. Wow, that's awesome. Hey, did you know we've got a Spider-Man statue? Would you to show it to you? No.
That's one of the
Oh, stop it. Just don't say anything like that.
I love the idea that on your like employee evaluations, there's a disingenuous checkbox.
Yes.
And like once that's it, sorry, kid. I mean that's it.
Yeah, it's at the top. It's at the top.
You mentioned your daughters. Let's talk about that for a moment, because you've chosen to build a family business, right? How old are your kids?
They are now 19 and 22.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
They were middle schoolers when we started this.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a 21-year-old at home.
Aww.
So,
yeah. She's home applying for medical school, so fingers crossed we land
awesome.
somewhere soon.
That's awesome.
That's
thank you. But yeah, I in my comic shop, my first kid, like we had a legitimate like nursery there where he would spend part of his day. So I've had some experience in parenting in a comic shop, but like you guys, you were middle school, I mean, that's a traumatic time in parenting and for being alive, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I think, being completely honest, there were times probably about 2 years in, I was like, man, we're at the shop a lot, and we're dragging them here. They're having to hang out here to get that time with us. There were times where you go like, God, man, this is a lot of work, and like we're not spending the same amount of time. There were times when we had to pass on the family vacation,
Sure.
and things like that. And it was rough, but I'm going to tell you what, the Craig girls. They are righteous, and they have really been so positive and pragmatic the entire time.
Yeah.
And they love the shop. They love coming here. They love being here. They're on the payroll, I should say. But they're protective of the shop now too, which I've noticed in the last couple of years, which I love.
I do like that.
It's something, first it's like, I'm here, it's in a comic shop, and but now it's such a point of pride for them. And
sure.
Well, it's not like their parents are Rockefellers.
Did I mention how wealthy we are? The cool thing is like, they're both in college. They live at home with us.
They're really pushing the healthcare.gov 26 years old to stay at home till you're 26.
You're still paying for my phone, right?
That's totally fine.
But they, Piper, it's Piper and Parker. Piper is our 22-year-old, and she's like, she's coming. She goes, "Oh my God, my professor is sitting at a table," Or I heard kids at UCF, which is it's about 30-minute drive from here, talking about Blackbird. I'm like, well, that is freaking awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So they're both in college now.
Yeah.
One freshman and one junior. So
they're both, they're both proud. It's good. It's very good. Yeah.
And they both are still pulling shifts. They're both.
Oh yeah.
Now we I think Piper probably pulls 24 hours a week, and Parker's around. Because Parker has a little heavier load, I think she's at 16 hours a week as a freshman. So I don't want her as a freshman to get trouble at school because she's trying to pull so many hours here.
Yeah.
School's first. Yeah.
That's a lame excuse,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, kid. If you're not, you can't use this.
Yeah, that's right.
So long as those A's come in, take as many hours as you want.
That's right. That's basically what the deal is too. So
that's excellent. So I mean, looking back on it, this is. I mean, obviously you don't know another way, but I mean, you essentially that their teenage years took place in the comic shop.
Yes.
That was. There's something you would recommend? Is it feel like
I'm glad it was during those years. Actually, I'm fortunate. I stayed home with both of the girls until they hit kindergarten, and then I went. I was teaching. And I was teaching at their school, and there was I was just absolutely present. I've got so many good times and good stories from that period of their lives. I think that had they been, let's say, third graders when we did this,
been tough.
It probably would not have been tenable because I'm not sure
the amount of hours it takes at the beginning. It was
so much. They wouldn't have understood.
Yeah,
that's true.
If they'd been babies or teens, I think it would have been fine. But at a certain age, it would have been too challenging.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly. I don't know that you could have left teaching.
Yeah.
As soon as you did after we started the store.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It worked out.
Yeah.
Well, I guess so. It's funny you say third grade because I have a 9-year-old at home, and he's like, why do you work so much? Because I'm self-employed. I'm I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You have to. I have to take care of you.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, my hope is that comes through because it did for me. Like my dad was the same, and it made a huge impact on me.
Yeah, well, I think you recognize that the cost of being your own boss is time.
It's time.
And what you hope for is that time can, because you're your own boss, they can be with you more actually. Just not maybe in the traditional setting of sitting at home on Saturday and Sunday. Now it's more like we get our moments and they're very intense, but they're at weird times.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I think that if you are able to balance that, it can be just about perfect.
Yeah.
I think that the girls have learned invaluable lessons about what it is to have your own business. And then sometimes, you have to make sacrifices, but there is a payoff for that. We have spent a lot of time together in the last couple of years because they are always here, whether they're working or not. They like to be here. So, and
the last thing I'd say about them is that they were the ones that brought some perspective and to us in 2020 during the craziness. We can get into it later, but the community rallied in a way that we didn't expect. And it was very touching, but we were also very stressed. And then Piper and Parker one day when the store was closed were hanging around the back, and the store was closed for 4 to 6 weeks. But they were like, "Do you see how these people responded? All of our regulars and all these people, the way they responded." She goes, "You guys built this, and there's this incredible outreach." And they said that to me, and I was just like, it was almost reinvigorating,
It's reinvigorating, definitely.
It really helped.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that they did. So that told me, Adam, that we did make the right choice of trying this with kids. Yeah. And that they totally got what all of that time lost in the first 2 years was for. So
that's wonderful. That's so moving. Also, before we can move on, but I do want to say, one of my favorite things about the watching you guys over social media over the years is, as someone who does yoga every day, seeing you do that what is it? It's a standing bow that you all did.
The
you called
girls,
your yoga.
yeah. Oh man, I hate yoga, man.
I love it.
Yes, but yeah, we always in anywhere we'll just the three of us, if we're together, we'll stand and do that pose. Somebody will take a picture of us. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
thank you.
of course.
Always at the oddest places.
Well, so talk about what are some of the challenges? I mean, you are essentially have created a hybrid, right? That allows you to bring in different kinds of people, expose different people to comics, allows you to like talk about coffee with regular comics regulars. But so talk about some of the challenges that are unique to that situation. Like, I mean, I imagine you both either one of you could probably go in and open a coffee shop tomorrow or just a comic shop tomorrow. But like, what is specifically is like those two things together? What is that? What are the opportunities? What are the challenges?
The first one out front, before I know if she's going to get into, I'll tell you. The first one you heard me say before is the outright cost of adding a coffee shop to your comic store. You think you spend money on fixtures and this,
or adding a comic shop to your coffee store.
or the other way around. It is literally the same amount of money, if not more, adding that second business.
Really?
So that's the first and biggest challenge, is the amount of money it takes to do them together. But I know what she's about to go into.
I think the thing that what I think the thing that is that I notice, it's always odd to me. You'll get, let's say, a comic book buyer come in with their partner, and they're here for comic books, and they'll say to the partner, "Why don't you go get yourself a cup of coffee?" Right? Get off my back for 5 minutes. And then you'll see.
And by the way, that's the wife or the husband saying that, but see them both ways.
Oh, sure.
And then they'll be like, no.
Can these people really make a cup of coffee?
Yeah. Come on, just
Can these nerds
get it
make
on our
a
way
cup
out?
of coffee?
So there's that. That can be a little bit disheartening, because I know that we are making incredible. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I am. We really do make incredible coffee here. Yeah. It's really
so overcoming that wall.
Overcoming the weirdness of like somebody walking in and just going, comic book shop coffee. Yeah. For me, that is the one thing. I have this weird like sixth sense for it. I pick up on it around the shop, like my radar goes off. I'm like, oh, hey, here comes that vibe, Yeah. And then sometimes it can be as simple as me walking out with a sample of something and going, "Hi, would you want to try this? Just tell me what you think."
Right.
And it's usually like, oh, and it's
this is real shit.
It's right. It's shock. It's like, wow, I didn't know that was possible amongst all of these.
Amongst these.
Yes. Yeah. Why, nerd, you make a decent cup of brew. But it's that's really the only thing that I could change right now. I was joking around with David, like the hardest thing for us has been parking.
Yeah, parking lot. The parking lot's a nightmare.
Parking lot is a nightmare. But
I'll tell you this about one of the things that I do love about it, is the challenge. This is a challenge. This adds to that question, is converting somebody who came in for one or the other thing. Mostly, I love converting some coffee drinker who thinks comics are a joke into a comic reader, and it's happened, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, it's so electric to see them get on and then come in 2 weeks like shy, like, somebody told me I should get this comic. Yeah. You have number 2. Can I get volume 2?
Got their palm up over their face.
Volume 2, please.
It's and then vice for my wife. It's for my wife, really.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a gift.
Yeah. Yes.
Stop staring at me.
Yeah. Let me get that coffee and a hammer, please.
And then vice versa, of course. So getting somebody who's strictly there to pick up books to try it.
Yeah, because there's another shop in town that they have a bar, and they probably have the same kind of a challenge.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Because obviously less than coffee, the more of the drinks from the bar you get in, you may be easier to sell them to.
Exactly.
But there's challenges whenever you do a hybrid. There's another hybrid in town, and they do very good at being that hybrid.
Yeah, they've got
Oh,
really,
excellent.
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
really
Comic
cool
store.
bar. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've been around for a long time. You know, I think
Yeah.
I think they opened maybe 3 years before we did,
Yeah.
and they just are killing it out there. So I do think that the hybrid can work if you have the two minds that can run the two sides, because there is a distinct difference in running those two different styles of business.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
like you said, you could literally start one or the other and be a successful business.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about that. The two minds that we have here, the chemistry of the two of you, and how that creates this fully formed organism.
Mm-hmm.
Candice, I love that you use the phrase organism. There's this a book called The Effective Executive. I want to say it's written by a guy named Drucker. I can't remember his first name.
Okay.
Anyway, he talks about how as organisms grow, a smaller percentage of their exterior is exposed to the outside world. Right? So a single-celled organism, the entire wall of that,
Are we talking about surface area here?
surface area, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you and I, like we have a certain amount of our body is exposed to the air, but most of the cells in our body are not, right?
Yes.
And so he talks about organizations being that same way. Like the bigger the organization, the less interaction you have with your customers or your vendors or whatever that is. You just have more and more people who are support.
I love that analogy.
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't really apply here, but the fact that we keep referring to it as an organism, but like, so you maintain this organism. And so how is it, what I'm picking up here is it, David, you're on the comic side and Candice is on the comic side. I mean, the coffee side. Is that how this is working?
She floats a little more back and forth because
I'm a floater.
Yeah. Yeah, floater. We just don't flush it. I need her to. So.
Yeah, I'm a floater. I kind of do both sides. So.
Okay. Yeah.
But I love that analogy because it does apply even at our level.
But speaking of, on the topic of the surface area, and when an organism gets larger, how it can end up costing maybe quality of interaction, right?
Right.
That is probably a challenge that you'd asked earlier, something that we find challenging. I'd say that's probably the biggest challenge that we have. Man. We weren't even thinking about it.
Yeah.
We work so hard to constantly be on the floor that it is challenging. It's an Augean task to be able to get everything else that we're supposed to be doing as shop owners. And we have a hardy staff, but also we think it's important that we're present. I don't want to be sitting in the back somewhere at a desk.
Yeah.
I don't know, looking at stuff. I want to be out on the floor talking to people because thank you, Blackbird. I've made some of the best friends I've ever had through the shop, and I want to see them.
And also, our identity was formed as a shop in those first 3 years, right? That's when we built the majority of our customer base. And at those days, it was me and Candice working every day when we were here. And then we weren't here, it was our daughters. So it was like the identity of the shop is with us, and we were very accessible for everyone who started shopping with us then. Now I have 7 employees, and there's way more behind the scenes stuff that has to be done
9
on
with
both
the girls.
sides, right? Yeah, we have 9 with the girls, but there's so much more to do in the back office now that, dude, now I'm finding myself 2 days a week in the shop, and I'll have somebody at Red go, dude, I haven't seen you in a while, and I go, you taking time off? I go, no, I'm actually working more.
And there's a joke. One of a friend of ours, Justin, he's like, "Oh, on the yacht, were you?"
Anytime I'm not here, one customer texts me like, the Lonely Islands guys on a yacht,
The other thing though that has been beneficial though on that side is that we have several of our staff we always include our girls, of course, but several of our staff are such standouts, Aaron, Carly, and Courtney, that they really do an incredible job extending their amazing personalities.
Yeah, that's the great thing. Those three captured our essence in their youth, and they have it. Like they
more
naturally
youthful
have
version
it.
of
they're
our
youthful
essence,
versions of us.
Yeah, but they're so wonderful with everyone, and they're very genuine.
Yeah, very conscientious of people, and the conversation is real that they have with people. It's not servicing, let me get you to the register so I can get you out of here.
Right.
It's like, hey, let's sit here and let's bullshit a little bit, and then if you need something ordered, just tell me. Otherwise, go over and sit down and have your coffee and read your trade you just bought.
Yeah, right.
So
that's wonderful.
That's great.
A lot of conversation in our industry about the was it the parking lot read, right? The book that you have to read so much that you just sit down in your car in the parking lot and read it. It's I guess you guys have the coffee shop read, right? It's it is the thing that you go and you're not even going to put it in the bag, right? I'm just going to take it over the table. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that definitely happens.
Do you know how many copies of Beneath the Trees and Ultimate Spider-Man 1 got read over in that coffee shop over the last couple of months? I mean, it was literally because I brag about a book, and it's never with the intent of selling it. It's just like somebody will go, what did you like this week? And then they'll buy it, and they get their brown paper bag, and they go, I'm just going to go over there and read. I'm on lunch anyway. I'm just going to go over and read.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
There's a lot of bag rustling.
And so we get immediate feedback on that issue. Wednesday is this great, beautiful electric. Adam, if you ever come to Orlando, make sure you're here on a Wednesday. It's so
It's electric.
Incredible on a Wednesday. So electric. I just love it.
Absolutely. But since we're mentioning that, you talked about the other hybrid store in the area. You're in Orlando, which means that there's, you're within really close distance of one of the biggest chains in comics, right?
Yep.
You have some serious competitors there.
Yeah.
Have you? So how do you feel? I mean, you chose this building that nothing else could survive in.
Yeah.
I still love that little fact. So what makes you decide, obviously you live in that area, but is there any amount of concern for you that you went into this highly competitive environment?
I don't
It's
know
two highly competitive environments, actually, with
exactly right.
Like I
From
said,
both
there's
sides.
a coffee, huge,
Right.
There's
voracious coffee chain moving in 30 yards from us.
Yeah, the equivalent to Phil's stores is a that is just as big and as prolific.
But more on the comic side. I would say there's different types of desires when you come into a shop. I think, some people, they do, and I'm not saying this about anybody's shop, but some people just want a transactional experience. They don't want the conversation. They don't want to be stopped. They don't want their time spent at it. They're going to come and get their stuff and they want to leave. Other people, they want to hang out for an hour and everything in between. So the nice thing about comic book shops is that you can have your neighborhood comic shop, and it really isn't. We are the only shop in Maitland. We are the Maitland neighborhood comic shop. We can say the other hybrid's name.
Yeah, Gods and Monsters.
Gods and Monsters.
Yeah. It's a beautiful shop. I've been in there.
Yeah. Gods and Monsters.
Incredible, vast, and all those sets. It's crazy.
Gods and Monsters. They are. They're probably about 40 minutes from us, maybe.
Yeah, because you think in Orlando, I know that doesn't sound bad. Like if you're in LA or New York, 40 minutes is nothing. Right. But in Orlando, 40 minutes is like you're going to another city. And I hear this when people are 12 minutes away. I go, "Are you local?" They go, "Nah, not really." I go, "Where you at?" And they go, "Castleberry." I go, "That's 7 miles away." Yeah. It's not. You are local.
So, but the Gods and Monsters is that their neighborhood shop, and then there are people who will drive if they're not getting what they want from shop A, B, or C. They'll drive to shop D to get whatever it is they're looking for, and then you have a comic book shop. I hate to call them whores.
I love that you said. Hold on. I love that you said comic book shop A, B, C, and D, and he's probably wondering how many letters can you go. In Orlando, you can go as many as the Dynamite covers. Okay, we might get up to like store QE. Okay.
You also get these wonderful souls who are like, you know what? I'm going to sprinkle a little sugar on 4 shops, and they do that, and that's really awesome because if you can do that, that's actually
I do like
cool.
that because what are we? Nobody knows the real number. We're around 2,500 stores with 2,000 of them being individual stores.
Sure.
And that really, to me,
it gets closer to 4,800 if you go worldwide, and you go to anybody who's like identifying as a comic shop. But as far as like what you and I think of as a comic shop, that number's close. Yeah.
So if you think about that, we really are at what I think is the tipping point of where is publishing periodicals to this direct market worth it. I've only got 2,500 to 3,000 customers is what the comic companies look at us as now.
Yeah.
So, you've probably seen it discussed on the FOC group.
Sure.
The stores are looked at as the end customer now by the publisher. So if they're looking at it and saying, hey, we've only got 3,000 stores making orders now, what if we dip to 1,500 stores? Does Marvel or DC think that now we're getting close to,
is that profitable for them?
Is it profitable?
Worth it? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Well, it's an interesting question, and it's one that I do tend to divert from the standard belief that seemingly on things like the FOC group.
Yeah.
That number that you're talking about, that 2,000 to 2,500, hasn't really changed, plus or minus 4%. In the last, I think it's 16 years.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? All right.
Yeah.
And that's including COVID years where you would think that everybody was just going to be sloughing off.
So we've achieved stasis.
Yes.
Well, when you look at other retail, right, during that same period, there was a die-off of bookstores. There was a serious die-off of record stores 20 years ago. There was, we have had these, like, as far as, like, retail goes, pet stores had a serious die-off. So we're talking about specialty retail. Comic shops are this like unique thing in that they have not gone anywhere.
Like a cockroach.
Yes, exactly. Now, what I do think is much more interesting, and maybe more significant to your point, there is now greater opportunities for publishers outside of the comic shops themselves, right? The comic shops are becoming a lot more diverse. Some of them are still selling comics, but they only sell, like people like Chuck Krasinski. Doesn't buy new comics anymore. He only sells what he can buy from his customers.
Right.
Totally understandable. You can control your margins. However, that said, like so the publishers they're running businesses too, right? So they need to be able to find opportunities to replace the Chuck Krasinskis of the world.
Yeah.
And they have. We've seen crowdfunding become a bigger piece of the pie. We've seen book market become a bigger piece of the pie. We've seen a lot of other opportunities, direct to consumer, at shows and that sort of thing. But I do think that from where I sit, having worked with, I don't know, now going on something like 15 or 16 different publishers over the years, and some of them really intensely. Where I sit, all of these things go to the health of the comic shops because we still are not seeing a die-off.
Right.
What we are seeing is a sort of a stasis.
Yeah.
And so what that means is that, like, the crowdfunding is increasing your sales.
Right.
Whether or not you see it, like, it's hard to say, well, it's because Berserker did that huge, Kickstarter that I was able to sell so many Berserkers.
Right.
It's hard to see that, but I feel like it's evident to me anyway.
Right.
To your point is what I'm trying to say.
That
makes sense.
I'm not a FOC group doomsdayer. I'm actually a dissenting voice on that thing of I like things to be positive, and any kind of the negativity needs to be kept in the back room. So for me, I feel like my point would be that I want to make sure that we're always a viable industry to the publisher as part of their wheel of what makes this arm of their business work.
Sure.
Right? I don't want them ever to look at it and go, well, the direct market, their voice matters very little. We'll throw them a bone, but we're going to still do these other things that may or may not help the industry.
Sure.
And I just want to make sure that we are always part of that pie chart on their presentations.
Well, I think if that's legitimately the goal, then I would say that from my experience, the one way that we can do that is to continue to make the direct market what it has been, which is an incredibly cheap place to create a brand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I wanted to go into the book market, it's going to cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars just to
Right.
walk in the door.
Right.
If I want to create a big enough audience to do something well in Kickstarter, that's going to take years.
Yeah.
Right? If I want to go into the comic shops, all I got to do is create something good that you see and fall in love with. And that gets on your shelves, and that makes it, and that can be self-funded.
Right.
So the beauty of the direct market for publishers and for investors is it's cheap. It's a cheap place to grow.
Right.
And I think so long as we can keep it that way, we're going to continue to see people plow money and try new things. And, we're going to continue to see that. So
yeah, I'm also
thank you for listening to my TED Talk. But,
yeah, I've actually, as a store, we've taken part in some Kickstarters. I always will research them and make sure that what they're putting out is a quality product, because, like you said, anyone can jump on Kickstarter and do something. Whether it gets funded or not, who knows? But I don't want to contribute to something that I can't believe in as far as the content. Is the content worthy of me pushing to my people? Because once I'm in on a Kickstarter, especially if they offer the retailer level, which is what I always look for, I'm in for that book. There's no backing away from it. So I've got to, I believed in it enough to help it get off the ground. So I've got to believe in it enough that I can pitch it to my customers and say, I think you will enjoy this.
And that is because we don't, personally, no one on staff ever pushes a book that they don't personally believe in.
Yeah, just can't.
Right. So I'm not going to sit there and say, I actually did really enjoy the new Ultimate X-Men, but if I had not liked it, you wouldn't have heard me say a word about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say anything, it just wouldn't be something
Yeah,
that
we don't go as far as to trash talk, because it's just, what's the point? Because that comic is there for somebody.
Somebody
likes it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. Can you imagine a product where the deal, the marketing, the whatever, right? Let's say there's a product that comes out. It is immaculately marketed. It's like got a bunch of advertising behind it, but you finally read it. It's not very good.
Right.
You're sitting on a stack of them, and if you sell them, you're going to do really well.
Yeah.
Are you hand selling that book?
No. It takes away. It takes away your credibility.
Sure.
So if a person is coming to you and you every time you tell them something, let's just say there's a customer that comes in and this person and I, we realize we kind of have similar tastes, and I'm recommending something and that person's coming back going, oh my God, that was so good. But then I start recommending things that I know I'm not personally jiving with. And then they're like, wow, she keeps recommending these books. Either she doesn't know me, doesn't care about me, doesn't care about what I like, or, she's just trying to offload something. Yeah. I just don't want that feeling.
The good thing is there's enough comics out there that aren't, what would it be? They're not very choosy about who can read them, right?
Right.
Like the subject matter of that story is universal. The arc of the idea is universal. Those are the ones you can get onto them for, and then let them find their way in this beautiful world of pulp of, I want my stuff to be more leftist. I want my stuff to be more like this. Whatever they want it to be. I want right-wing comics. I want political.
Centrist,
whatever I mean. I want centrist. Let them find that stuff. You get them to the universal message stuff where they can see the beauty of sequential storytelling, and then let them find their own little niche in this world.
And since you brought that up, we might as well mention that's a rule in the shop.
Oh yeah. I think that should be in every shop.
No politics, no religion.
Yeah. So, no, they may BS it over at the table.
You can talk about whatever you want while you're hanging out. But here that was that whole thing I said, when you walk through the door, leave your BS, whatever your BS is.
Yeah.
We've created a very safe space here, and we're.
It's just like that term alone just draws some eyebrows sometimes. It's safe.
We do. We champion everyone's,
I just, whenever I say it, I see some eyebrows go.
Ability.
Space.
I know, but it is. But it really is. That's the nomenclature, sir. But we've done that, and we want you to be able to sit down and you talk about whatever you want. Obviously, if you get weird, I'm going to get weird. But if if you can just have your social discourse and remain civil, and that's your business. But we as a shop,
the good thing is that we have a pretty even battlefield out there in that store. It is pretty split down the middle.
It's kind of sad it would even be a battlefield, though, right?
I mean, there's the same amount of Rob defenders as there are Rob attackers out there. To really draw a point to it.
Yeah.
I'll have 5 people attacking Rob and 5 defending him, and I send them on the parking lot.
I love that Rob is the pinnacle that everybody like teeters on.
All comic conversations always end at an argument about whether you like Rob or not.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of conversation, I know that you mentioned the FOC group, David, and I I've had my kind of love-hate relationship with retailer communities online. I mean, in many ways, I've made some of the best friends of my life. When I was a retailer, I learned so much that I would not have learned otherwise. But I also look back on that time and think, if I had not been quite so invested in the conversation and in being like a good comic shop as it was defined by those people, would we have been that much more successful? I'm curious, and this is just something I've been asking, kind of everybody I know is involved. Do you feel like the online retailer conversation, has it been a net positive or a net negative for you?
Negative. It's a net negative.
Really?
I don't respond a lot because of it. I just read it.
Yeah, you'll see me. I don't chime in on a lot of threads.
Yeah.
I just the other day there was something about. Oh, shit, what was it? There was a conversation the other day, and it was about Spider-Gwen, about, yet another restart from Marvel. And it's like, they're just griping. I just go, guys, they've made a business decision. They've said, hey, and in my mind, the talk was, she's not a strong enough character to carry a series for 30 or 40 issues, so we're just going to restart her every 6 years. What do you care? Why do you care?
Yeah.
It's Spider-Gwen we're talking. Who cares?
There are the people who love that character, and they're fine with it restarting. Someone cares.
Do you know what? The Walking Dead restarted every year when it was on television. Every year was a new season, and it's just who cares? So net negative. There you go.
All right.
It's
I feel like when I look, sometimes it's a lot of doom and gloom, and that's
what I didn't want portrayed when I said something about the 2,000 to 2,500 stores. I care about the industry.
We want them to survive.
We are no way and no how a doomsday.
No, because we're not. We're doing good, and I mean it's. Listen, every day, and we are in here just about every day. It's uplifting and positive here.
Yeah.
It feels good to be here. If I was having a bad day, I would probably drive to the shop to sit here for a while and kind of reach equilibrium. People come in here and they're happy, and they're trying to be happy, I just don't feel at all negative about that. I don't feel negative about what I see happening on the new wall. I don't feel negative about what I see happening in the back bins. None of it.
I'll be honest with you. That FOC group on there, I understood the frustrations of the guys who started it. I felt really sympathetic for them when it reached an apex about 2 years ago, I think it was.
Sure.
And they ran some publishers off, and not them, but the posters ran some publishers off. Yeah. And to me, I just like, oh man, I'm grouped in this group. I'm in this group, not the group, the FOC group. I'm in this retailer's so when I say to a publisher at a show, oh, I'm a retailer, in their mind, they're like, I bet you're on that FOC group. You know what I mean? So I don't like that portrayal of the retailers as a whole. So, no beans spilled here. There's tons of Facebook groups out there. There is another retailer group I'm in that is a much smaller sampling of stores that is way more positive about the industry, and we discuss things there. And we get a lot more done.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, if we could only get the publishers in that group. Anyway.
Well, so, I mean, that sounds like an opportunity, and it also sounds like an opportunity for one of my questions, which is, what are you missing? Right? What is, That was, and by that I mean, like, you're in this 6 years. That's not a long time.
Mhm.
You are still, on nearly every other metric in any business, you're still in a growth phase.
Mhm.
Yep.
There's some things that have to feel like there's got to be times where you're like, this should just be easier, or I need a resource for this.
Yeah.
Like, what are you missing as business owners?
A new POS system.
Yeah, I tell you right now, you know where I think somebody can make a lot of money, and I am not the guy to do this.
Okay.
And it looks like Django and Jeff are headed that way because they,
Sure.
they got the blessing of Free Comic Book Day guy Joe Fields when he said, "I really feel like Comic Shop Assistant is the future of the industry," and he said that on their thread. And I was like,
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's kind of like the tapping, ding, and it rings out. You
Sure.
know, but that. I think that somebody who comes up with the system that can unify and standardize the way we deal with all of the output, the people who put the stuff out, whether it be publishers or whether it be self-pubs, and these guys
Sure.
can basically go to a place that, let's just say some guy he kickstarted his book, he's got his product now, and he wants to get it out to the 3,000 stores. He can go to this thing and say, can I get added to your POS system so that I'm in all the stores? It's almost like what Stu's doing down there, where basically you deal with one guy and it goes to all the stores. But I like the uniqueness of Comic Shop Assistant. That interface, if you haven't seen it, you should talk to Django about letting
I haven't
you
seen
watch
it.
I
haven't seen it this year. However, I am interviewing Django and Jeff later this week, actually.
Oh, cool.
You should ask them to take us a couple of screen caps and just show. It is such a beautiful. It's such a beautiful interface, and that is the one thing that is the biggest thing I'm missing. The other thing would be like, you know how comics, we're a very specific product, so we need a very specific type of way to display it or to house it. The person who can come up with, and I don't know that this is an industry at all, but you're only servicing 3,000 stores, but a person who comes up with a uniform way of, these are the standardized way to put comics on a new wall, all of that type of things, where none of this is uniform. We're all kind of making it up as we go.
I don't know that you want it uniform.
I don't want that, but I'm talking about just the access to the tools and especially the data and the product.
For somebody who's new.
Yeah.
I
or someone who is struggling.
Yeah,
I could see that. I mean, there've been. I think the downside to that is like, we have seen that before. We've seen furniture makers start creating these flat pack cascade walls.
Yep.
I remember these were going out a lot in the late '90s, early aughts. Right? You would be able to order this thing. It's about 5 feet tall, and it has cascades up here, and it has cascades down here.
Skyline.
Well, now, if you go to any, I mean, I love this. Every time somebody online, a retailer says, all comics are displayed in cascades, you must put the logo up here. Well, all right, that's not true. And here, let me show you, because usually what this is I will say, okay, I will look at your town.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at every comic shop on Google Maps, and I'm going to look at how their new comics are, and I'm going to say, oh yeah, you're one of 2 shops, and there are 20 in your town. You're one of 2 that has cascades. Right? And so what I'm saying is that there was a time when we had a standard, and that standard was cascades. And the stores that are really kind of old and not old, have been around for a while and are really pushing for these cascades, it's because they did a standardized look. So I think that you have to be able to shift with the marketplace, and so it's an interesting, what does that standard look like, right?
I agree with that.
Ours is our new wall is. I love it because it's, if you don't know what it is, there's a clear plexi J channel where you can see the full front of the comic.
I know that.
And it's on a black slat board. So the only thing you notice visually and consciously is the comic book, right? So the shelf disappears, the black disappears behind it.
Right.
And I love how the wall looks because it's 8 comics tall and 96 long, So when you walk in, it's like, holy crap, is this Midtown?
Right. And Midtown, there you go, is a fine example of somebody who, if there was any real mathematical reason, they would want to, because they have retail space in Midtown.
Right.
I mean, it makes a lot of difference. All right, well, excellent. I feel like we hit a lot. Do you want to just give me 5 minutes. Everybody had a unique story. You guys talked a little bit about your COVID experience.
Mm-hmm.
How is COVID, that experience, how has that changed your organization for permanently? Or it did it? Was it just a blip? Like you look back on it, does that change your business?
I don't feel that.
I
don't feel ultimately that it did.
know I did. Here's the big
did?
change. I
Okay.
think the change I think that came out of it might be from the other side, where it put them back in contact with their local eatery, their local bookstore, their
The
local
customer.
the customer. I think the change happened from that side, because if you look at, obviously you'll have your folks that will argue that it was because there was money put into everybody's pockets, but the
Right.
response from the end of summer in 2020 through the end of the year 2021, record money was spent in the entire economy.
Sure.
And it was spent more locally. The fact that I can get 25 people to show up on a Wednesday morning right when we open the doors, when before COVID it would be a trickle throughout the day. And everybody really refound that connection, especially if stores capitalized on it. And we did. We said, we're creating a space. You know what this space is like, and everybody can come here and hang out, and we can talk books, we can drink coffee together, whatever it may be. They refound that importance because COVID, in its rawest form, let everybody know that there is definitely something out there that can take care of us.
Okay.
In no time, right? Like,
yeah, sure.
Like if that germ changes itself just a little bit, we are way worse off.
I'm gonna build on what you
So
just
I thought
said.
they found
Yes,
the importance
I
of
agree.
human connectivity.
I agree. I would say also absence makes the heart grow fonder, and people spent. Well, we were actually close 7.5 weeks.
Yeah, 7.5 weeks.
Everybody. We were in shutdown in Central Florida. Everybody.
It was Orange County mandate,
and it was. I think people were like, "Oh, holy hell! I really did like going into Publix." or whatever it was, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't know I liked getting gas so much, So people just wanted to get out and then get back in touch. I think sometimes, God, please don't. I hope nobody hates me for saying this. I may call you later and say, please don't.
I can't wait. The lead up is so good. I can't wait for this.
It's going to be disappointing. But I think sometimes people love to be like, I'm a loner, or I'm, or like, I'm, see my button, it says I'm antisocial, and I think that sometimes people get introversion, introverts and extroverts, they get that mixed up a little. That's really how you recharge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm an introvert.
Where do you get your recharge?
I recharge by sitting at home reading quietly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. There's to recharge to get back out with that connectivity.
Get back out and have all that energy and everything. And I think that sometimes people don't realize that you do get something when you walk in. And I'm going to say the comic book shop. You walk into your local comic book shop and you have that conversation with the person who's there.
And it may not even be about comics
or another person that's just there to pick something up. You're having that connectivity. We as humans need it. We thrive on it. And even if you're having that day where you're like, oh God, please just don't look at me, don't talk to me, whatever it is, the next day you're going to need somebody to look at you and talk to you. And it's I think people realize they do need that.
I have a great example is when we met you in San Diego in person for the first time.
Oh yeah.
No, we met you at HeroesCon.
That's right, HeroesCon. But the more meaningful meeting, how about that? Was in San Diego because we were in the courtyard of the cool, as I will call it. And we were.
You mean my San Diego office?
Yes. That's your San Diego office.
Yeah.
So we're in that courtyard and we're just sitting on chairs and we're talking with Katie and Eitan and then you were there and
all the cool kids.
It's like to me, I got more out of that than inside the convention hall. I felt so good sitting out there chatting with people about
that's stuff.
commonalities.
Yeah, it was great. Mm-hmm.
I will say I'm done saying that where that location is in public, and I'm so glad you did not. Because
I did
it's
not.
Getting even worse.
I don't want to mention it.
But it has been a career goal of mine to just spend the entire show not leaving that area and never going onto the floor of the convention center because I'm not going to get anything real work done, but out here I will. Out here I'll learn.
I believe in
talk.
you.
Yeah.
You can do it. This is your year.
Here's what we'll tell everybody. We'll tell everybody, hey, it's on the north side of San Diego, really far north side of.
Yeah. Yes.
Man, I'm starting to crave that margarita right now. Excellent. So let's talk about your shop. I mean, every shop is unique. Everyone is unique as its community and its owners, and I think that's part of the reason why we've never seen a Borders, we've never seen Barnes and Noble, we've never seen Amazon really get a foothold, and I think it's because of the uniqueness of all of these small shops, right?
Yeah.
Even the chains, everyone is so individual.
Yeah.
So talk to me about what is the bestseller in your shop that nobody else would be able to say? Like, because everybody I've asked this is one, you know,
Well, as far as a book,
as a book, as a product, I mean, that's not, I mean, I can't imagine it's your macchiato, but maybe it is.
I want to see how many people remember this book.
Okay.
We created a cult-like following.
Okay.
It was a John Lehman book called Outer Darkness.
That was an Image book. It was his like Star Trek kind of play.
Yeah.
Star Trek with a
Captain
captain
Kirk
who's
is
a total dick.
asshole.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I love that book.
we created this cult-like following, and I can't believe how many copies I had to keep reordering. And we still, it is on our evergreen list, and no one would understand why. They go, this is not on a top 300 anywhere. And I go, top 300 at Blackbird.
It's so good.
If I ran a report on sales, it's one of my top-selling graphic novels and individual books of all of my stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you literally could go, you mean you were selling as much Outer Darkness as Saga? I don't understand this.
Yeah.
So, that is the one book that I know no one else can say they championed.
I love that. I love that. And John will love that. John, I remember him pitching me that book, that it was coming out. We were at NC Comic Con, still one of my favorite shows. I don't know if you've ever been. But it's this wonderful little vibe in Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay. And it's run by the people who do Ultimate Comics in that area.
Yeah. Alan Gill.
And Alan Gill and his crew. Yeah. And John and I were just hanging out that whole weekend, and he was pitching me Outer Darkness, and I love that you have found a home for that. I hope you should have John in to sign. He would love that.
Oh, I would definitely.
Oh yeah, I would love that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I did something about a month and a half ago that I'd never done. I read a Suicide Squad book because John Lehman did it. I don't read Suicide Squad. I don't care about Suicide Squad.
That's awesome. Well, is there anything else? I mean, I feel like we're getting close to wrapping up.
I mentioned at the very beginning, I want me and her to try together, try and tell you the story of the community response at the end of when COVID first kicked in.
Oh,
sure.
Gosh.
I do want to hear that.
Right,
yeah,
so,
please.
I'm going to try not to be weepy.
Yeah, so we have all these tables, and we're not a magic store, but we are a Dungeons and Dragons store. That really kind of matches our personality, where people are coming in and they're being something else.
Yeah.
So there's a D&D group who had been here since the first Saturday after we opened, and
they're still here.
And they're still here, almost 6 years later.
Every Wednesday night.
Yeah. So COVID, we get the announcements March 27th, which was a Tuesday, I believe. I could get my dates a little off, but it was Wednesday came. It was the last day we could be open, and they were running their game like normal, and super supportive of the cafe and getting food and getting drinks, and blah blah blah, and emptying their files, which is a beautiful thing.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah. And so they do all of this, and then we're getting ready to close. It's like 7:30,
and there's like this little bit of weird quiet.
It's quiet
going on at the table, which is
and I'm like, so I get this is it, because we're all talking amongst ourselves like, wow, this is it. Like, we are going to be closed for 7 weeks.
David and I,
what the hell do we do
behind the counter?
Yeah.
Did you know it was going to be 7 weeks at that point? Did they say?
There was definitely 4 weeks, and Orange County said we will let you know after that.
And they extended it.
Yeah.
So they come up and they were crowding around the counter, and it was closing time because they're here till right to the end. Yeah. It's closing time, and they had this brown paper bag.
Well, we sell our comics. We use craft paper bags like the old school way with our comics. Yeah. So when you buy them, you get them.
This one looked like it had been like driven over 30 times and everything else. It was just soft,
Yeah, an old liquor bag, an old Mad Dog 2020 bag.
And they said, well, we just finished the campaign, and we
We
down the
vanquished.
final boss and opened the loot, and there was this bag and it had your name on it.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, the loot dropped and this bag was in it, but it had you guys' name on it.
And it had hundreds of dollars in it that they had cobbled together.
Oh.
From the group.
Hoping that it would help sustain us.
Yeah,
And,
they were
and
like,
you know what they didn't realize is, well, yeah, I mean, that was very helpful. I was bawling. My
Yeah.
eyes are misty right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I thought I was going to fall down.
She had to
And
kneel
I'm
down
not
behind the
emotional, but I was like, you know, and cannot compute, and I just
It's still the most
it
touchy
wasn't
thing I've
the
ever
money.
seen.
It was what they did and said, how they did it,
Yeah.
and that they wanted to do that.
And they said, we want you to come back. We want to make sure you come back.
and that is what sustained us.
That
That was just like
Oh.
somebody had just put new batteries in, and we were like,
I still get weepy eyed when I talk about it.
Yeah,
It's
me
like,
too.
I don't know, it was incredible. So I thought that since I mentioned at the very beginning, I would tell you at the end what the story was. I thought it was a beautiful story, and it really could happen at any comic shop, I think.
and
Oh, truly.
and
Yeah.
then one thing I did say when on your list of questions, one thing that I thought was interesting you asked is working together. How we
What's the magic?
well, first of all,
What's the secret sauce?
we're like besties. Besties. Okay, but anytime there's a problem, it's
To stay away from arguing.
to mitigate.
To
issues.
mitigate any kind of an argument.
We have
That's
this
it.
thing, and it's like it's not something we created,
No.
but it's like, do you want comfort
Or a solution.
or a solution?
So Adam, use that in your life.
Oh,
So,
yes.
If
I'm familiar with it, yeah.
if I'm ramping up over something, David will be like, "Do you want comfort or solution?" I'll be like,
Because I'm a solutions guy.
I'm like,
But I
"I
get
need
the comfort.
comfort. Hug
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
give me my comfort." So it's
I'm like, wow, comfort is way easier than
What
solutions.
it does is it immediately lets the other person know, I totally
Yeah.
heard I know what's going on. I hear you.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
listening
yeah.
to you.
So-
But this is all I can do right now. Comfort
God,
or solution.
and comfort is so much easier than solutions.
Yeah, but I
Oh,
prefer
I know.
comfort. So
Oh,
But we're, you raised. I mean, I was raised. I don't know. I don't know. I've lived enough. I've been a Yankee long enough that it almost doesn't feel real that I grew up in Texas. But
Yeah.
especially us Southern men, like we were raised to do.
yeah.
We were raised to fix. We
Yeah,
were
yeah,
raised
yeah.
to like feeling. All right, after work is done, you can have a feeling.
Yes.
You can have an
Yes.
emotion.
Yeah.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
So
Yeah,
we
it's true.
were raised to just oh, okay, there's a problem I need to fix. Let's
Yes.
go fix it.
What is the problem?
Yes. Let me get my tool belt on. I'm
Yeah.
ready to go. Yeah.
There's
I
two
feel
bucks
you.
under my chair right now.
It's true.
I feel you. Well, it's wonderful. I am so happy to have had this time to talk to you guys,
Yeah.
to get to know you, and and by proxy your family and staff, and
Mm-hmm.
and hear how this has worked. I hope for many, 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 many more years of this.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Because if nothing else, your 401k has to pay off at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know myself. I don't know people, but I know myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where can for the literally dozens of people watching this, where can they find you?
Well, on Instagram, which is our better outsource, is Blackbird CCH. That
Okay.
is a way, if you want to see what the shop is like, really kind of follow that Instagram. I feel like you get a good feel of the vibe of the shop and the hangout
Yeah,
and stuff.
and then we do a lot of video promotion for books.
Yeah.
A lot, and so we have different series of videos that we post on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And
What is that handle on there?
I think it's Blackbird CCH too.
Yeah.
And it's the 5 in 90 where David talks about 5 books in 90 seconds. It's
The
the
challenge.
Danny didn't miss it.
Yeah.
Books that need a little bit more love.
And these are all great ideas
no-
that shops should use.
Yeah, no experience necessary, which is one of my favorites. That's Carly, my right arm. Carly, who
This is a great idea.
she just grabs a book, she reads it that she knows nothing about, and then she'll let you know. Could you literally, like Kirkman suggested, jump in?
Yeah.
Could you jump in on that book? And she'll tell you.
Yeah.
She definitely shoots you straight. And then we've got the fairly maybe a new series where I haven't had my coffee yet, and I try to talk about books, and that's exciting. That's some exciting
I'm
stuff
sure.
right there.
I'm sure that Tony Felice and Trish Forstner loved the
I'm
review.
so grateful
Candice
for
gave
my
without coffee the other day.
review that I did of just look like I have no idea what's going on around me.
That's probably my favorite video of the
And,
year.
and then Aaron,
You know what I love about that is it's not necessarily an ad about the book. It's an ad about coffee.
Yeah.
You know?
and then probably one of the best things. Aaron does a book walk and talk.
Every week.
Aaron's like David's right arm.
Yeah.
And Aaron also does I Love My Shelf or Shelf Love.
Yeah.
And
he just tells people to name a shelf.
Name a number and
Name a number, yeah.
Number shelf in the shop. He's going to talk about books on it.
Every book on the shelf.
It's really cool.
And it's a way to bring a spotlight to books that.
Yeah.
That's
if they're
awesome.
libraried, you're not going to notice that book.
And this is all on your YouTube channel?
A lot of that's on the YouTube channel. Yep. It's all on our Instagram.
It's all on our Instagram, yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love
it's really
that.
good.
I wish I had another hour with you guys just to dig into like the effects of that because I think it's fantastic. You've done so much content. That's wonderful.
Yeah, well, when you do your series on good selling techniques, we'll be part of it for you.
All right. I'll take you up on that.
All right.
I'll take you up on that. Awesome. All right. Wonderful. David, Candice, this has been incredible. Hi again. Thanks so much for watching Comic Industry Insiders. It, as always, is our pleasure to talk to the movers and shakers of comics and to bring you those conversations. We'd love it if you'd support us with a like and subscribe. And, telling your friends is always good. But really what we want to do is hear from you. Any questions, any suggestions you have about our show, any suggested guests, frankly, anything at all, we'd love to hear from you. Our producer is nearly always Stephanie Gerk, and our researcher is Anthony Militano, who makes me look much smarter than I am. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Namaste, y'all.